Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God indeed said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? In light of the principle of first mention, we begin with Genesis 3:1, where the serpent is seen for the first time. Is this the devil or Satan? It is. For we read in Revelation 12:9, So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So, to view the serpent is to view the devil and Satan, and when seen in a collective sense, he is the great dragon of Revelation 12. Leading up to the casting out of the great dragon, there's war in heaven. And thanks to tradition, many believe this refers to the fall of, quote, Lucifer before the story of Adam and Eve, explaining why the serpent just shows up suddenly in the Garden of Eden. I don't believe the war in heaven has anything to do with the appearance of the serpent in Genesis 3:1. So, why is it that the serpent just shows up in Genesis 3:1? He doesn't, for its formation is contained in the context of the Genesis parable. Allow me to explain. First, know that the word dragon, seen 13 times throughout the book of Revelation, means a fabulous kind of serpent, perhaps as supposed to fascinate. 13 just happens to be the number denoting rebellion and depravity. And when we see that this large serpent has 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads, we should immediately recognize that this is symbolic and therefore defines important spiritual realities. What follows in Revelation 13 gives us even more understanding when we see this same 7-headed creature become the beast rising out of the sea, having leopard, bear, and lion-like features. All of these animalistic features are also symbolic, giving us characteristics to consider in regard to both of these entities. The key word here is characteristics. Gemini says, at its core, a characteristic is a distinguishing feature, quality, or trait that identifies a person, place, thing, or concept and sets it apart from others. Think of it as a defining mark or a building block of an identity. Here we are, a defining mark or a building block of an identity. Principle of first mention, serpent in Genesis, then a fabulous kind of serpent in Revelation. And just as the lion, bear, and leopard features characterize something about this beast rising out of the sea, so the serpent also characterizes something. And what might this be? Well, Genesis 3:1 tells us. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Our phrase more cunning is rendered more subtle in the King James. Strong's defines it as cunning, usually in a bad sense, a passive participle of the root meaning to be or make bear. To be cunning, again usually in a bad sense. To be or make bare, as in naked? Yes, which just happens to bring us here. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Our word naked, it is clearly related to our other 2 words, agreeing with the understanding of cunning. Gemini tells us that cunning refers to the ability to achieve a goal through cleverness, deception, evasion, or trickery. It combines sharp intelligence with a willingness to bypass straightforward or conventional methods to get what one wants. Simply put, cunning is a characteristic, is it not? And in this case, a human one? You see, my friend, the serpent is not a talking snake who once walked on 2 legs, nor does it have anything to do with some angel who rebelled against God. It represents a characteristic common to mankind, to our ability to do what is necessary to get what we want. Sounds like self-seeking to me, does it you? Now, note the phrase, beast of the field in Genesis 3:1. A lot of folks never consider this phrase, but in light of what's recorded in Revelation chapters 12 and 13, I believe we should. We should also note that our word beast in Genesis 3:1 is the same words rendered, quote, life and, quote, living in Genesis 2:7 and 9. When we also consider passages like Psalm 73:22, Job 18:3, and Ecclesiastes 3:18 and 19, it becomes apparent that beast of the field isn't referring to just animals of the four-legged variety, but also two-legged. Again, think characteristics, for the word beast in Revelation 13 means a small but dangerous animal. No doubt about it, man is the most dangerous animal on the planet. As you might have guessed, I backed up into chapter 2 of Genesis when I introduced the word naked. But in order to better describe the formation of the serpent, we must back up even further. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib, which the Lord God had taken from man, made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Let me get straight to the point. The phrase deep sleep, this is where the serpent or man's subtlety begins. The phrase deep sleep is defined by Strong's as a lethargy, or by implication trance, taken from the root meaning to stun, that is stupefy, with sleep or death. It's found just 7 times in the King James Old Testament, the root also 7 times. Note where this same phrase is used in Isaiah 29. Pause and wonder. Blind yourselves and be blind. They are drunk, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with intoxicating drink. For the Lord has poured out on you the spirit of deep sleep, and has closed your eyes, namely the prophets, and he has covered your heads, namely the seers. The whole vision has become to you like the words of a book that is sealed. Blind and drunk, not literally, but spiritually, and this due to a spirit of deep sleep. Perhaps Paul had this in mind when he wrote the following. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. Now, remember the story of Lazarus, whom Jesus raised from the dead? In John 11, we read this. These things he said, and after that he said to them, Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may wake him up. And his disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of his death. But they thought that he was speaking about taking rest and sleep. Then Jesus said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Lazarus sleeps, Jesus said, meaning Lazarus is dead. In this particular case, it's literal, but Jesus calls it sleep. In Genesis 2:21, God causes a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. Any reason why this deep sleep doesn't typify death, albeit not physical or outward, but non-physical and inward? Doesn't Isaiah 29 and 1 Thessalonians 5 show that a deep sleep means to be blind and drunk regarding spiritual matters? In keeping with all of this, note the following. Awake to righteousness and do not sin, for some do not have the knowledge of God. I speak this to your shame. Therefore he says, Awake, you who sleep, arise from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. What does Paul say to do? Awake, synonymous with arise from the dead. Again, not outwardly, but inwardly. Is Paul not speaking of resurrection then? He is. For our word awake in Ephesians 5:14 is defined by Strong's as, through the idea of collecting one's faculties, to waken, transitive or intransitive, that is, rouse, literal from sleep, from sitting or lying, from disease, from death, or figurative, from obscurity, inactivity, ruins, non-existence. Our word awake is found 144 times in the King James New Testament, often referring to resurrection. And when I see 144, I cannot help but think of Revelation chapter 7 and 14 and 21:17. When we take another look at Genesis 2:21, we're told that the Lord God caused the deep sleep to fall upon Adam. We'll start here in the next study.